Black Americans have carried enough on their back. They don't need lectures from people who don't work with them. Black people, we don't need lectures from people who don't work with us. We need to work with the people who work with us.
But I will say that Ryan Coogler needs to firmly address that he was inspired by a Latin American vampire movie because we are owed our flowers. Also, Ryan, I saw that tamale story you put in the movie. Where's the fucking Latino extras? Come on, Ryan, you're so good at putting Latinos in your movie. What the fuck happened here?
Why are other groups of people always demanding that black people be the representation for their group? I saw Raheem say that, I think that's his name, and I thought that was so powerful. When a lot of these people who are speaking are anti-black racists themselves, but whenever something goes good that we're happy about, that we're talking about, that we're represented in, that is for us, by us, you always have other groups of people coming in saying, well, why weren't Hispanics in there? Well, why weren't white people in there? And why weren't these people in there? And when he said that, that shit touched me. When he said, why are other groups of people always demanding that black people represent their group when you can do the same thing that these black creators are doing? Why don't you be the representation for your own group and stop worrying about why black people aren't representing for you? It's not our job to do that. And to be honest with you, a lot of you are racist and anti-black anyway. We're not even represented in your art, nor do black people demand that we be represented in your art that you're talking about for your people. Now, Matthew Torres missed the mark when he said that Ryan Coogler completely ripped off From Dusk Till Dawn and didn't give any homage or pay any homage to the influence that the movie had on his movie Sinners. But if you look at some of the interviews that he did, if you just do a little bit of research, Torres, you would see that he said he was inspired by the movie. So what's the problem?
You don't put Latinos in the movie, and you steal from the biggest Latino vampire movie? Come on, man.
Okay, so no offense to my friends in the Latino community, but y'all don't need to be in everything. Just like we Asian Americans don't need to be in everything either. I mean, it just happens to be there are Asian characters in Ryan Coogler's new movie Sinners, because apparently historically there were some Chinese people living in the Mississippi region of the Jim Crow era, which is the setting of the movie. So unless historically there were also Latino workers or Latino people living in that same region in the Jim Crow era as well, then I don't understand why you are so up in arms about this. Why can't we as people of color just celebrate and praise the fact that a person of color, writer-director Ryan Coogler just made an amazing movie and just leave it at that, full stop? And didn't you guys see Black Panther 2? He already included your people in that movie. I mean, Ryan is not required or mandated or obligated to include Latinos in all of his movies. He's not. He's not. And finally, From Dusk Till Dawn thing, I mean, it's been a while since I watched that film. I love that film, but it's been a while. And correct me if I'm wrong, but weren't the vampires or the bad guys Latinos and the good guys were white guys in that film? Right? So calling it a Latino vampire movie when the heroes were all white, it's not a good look on you, bro.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching my video from. Welcome back to my YouTube space. Thank you so much. I hope you are doing great. So today we are going to talk about something crucial, something sensitive, and it's a conversation that has been bubbling online. I've come across it. I don't know if you have seen this, but some Latinos are calling out black filmmakers for not including them in black movie spaces. Now, there is this specific movie called Sinners that came out, and Latinos are complaining that they are not there. And let's talk about that. Let's talk about that, because I've seen black Americans reacting, saying that black or Latino, they never even include them in the telenovelas movies. And they are saying in November 5th election too, when black people rights and futures were in line, black or Latinos didn't show up. So it is a conversation that we need to talk about it, because Latinos and black people, all of them or all of us, we are a minority group in United States of America. And when you talk about recently, the complaints have been online. So when you go on TikTok, X, and in some YouTube videos, these Latinos creators and influencers have been saying that people in Hollywood don't include them enough. And they point films like I Call Sinners, they point film like The Color Purple, Nope, or The Human King, saying, where are Latinos? That is the question they are asking. That we are not seeing Latinos here. We ain't here, you know? And I get it. Representation is matters a lot. Everybody wants to be on the screen. The issue is maybe this film is the black only film, or maybe it is telling black stories, or maybe it's telling the black history or African culture. So why would you expect to be included in the stories where it's not about you? If the story is about the minority group, then you'll be there. If the story is about Latino, we'll be there. I see Telemundos, telenovelas since I was young. The only time I could see black person in a movie, in a telenovela movie, is when they are acting on a crime, maybe it's acting as criminal, or a house help, or working on a farm. That is the only place I was seeing the black people being included in these telenovelas, or they are acting as extras. So if we're going to talk about this inclusivity, we have to talk it both ways, because we need to ask the harder questions. Do you include us? Okay, now before we go down into that video, before I come with commentary, there's a video here, clips of black Americans reacting, and some Latinos. I want you to watch this video, you know, and I'll come back here and try to react on it. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for those who are sending me super thanks and those who are commenting and liking and sharing my video. Let's watch these clips and then we'll come back.
There's one fucking movie that Sinners owes everything to, and it's not fucking Puss in Boots, it's goddamn From Dusk Till Dawn. And like, I'm not saying Nosferatu, Dracula, Sinners, From Dusk Till Dawn, but I will say that Ryan Coogler needs to firmly address that he was inspired by a Latin American vampire movie because we are owed our flowers. Also, Ryan, I saw that tamale story you put in the movie. Where's the fucking Latino extras? Come on, Ryan, you're so good at putting Latinos in your movie. What the fuck happened here? You don't put Latinos in the movie, and you steal from the biggest Latino vampire movie? Come on, man, that's a bad look.
You don't even have the spine to stand up with the black community to protect your own rights, but you have the audacity to be mad that you're not in black movies? Wasn't this you a few years ago?
Ryan Coogler treats Latinos with so much love. We're gonna mail you your Latino card because you're one of us now.
Ryan Coogler put a lot of care and thought into historically and culturally representing the Mexican indigenous community in Black Panther, yet here you are, biting a hand that fed you by insulting him, claiming he stole from a white man's movie. By the way, a movie where you were portrayed as a villain in your own homeland. The secondhand embarrassment that I get when some Hispanics pathetically come on here and beg for opportunities from the black community. Whether it's thinking you're entitled to a performance spot at Kendrick Lamar's Juneteenth show or being represented in a black movie, and then the black community gives you those opportunities, and then what do? Backstab and disrespect like this dude. And that behavior tracks. Looking at those election results just a few months ago, it's not enough that Hispanics already benefit from the civil rights that the black community fought for. Many of y'all still have the audacity to think you're entitled to have the black community protesting on your behalf when so many of y'all voted to have our civil rights taken from us. Yet you never have that same energy for your white oppressors. And that's probably because Hispanic men are the most subservient, most obedient to white supremacy. Stop begging for opportunities from the black community and create your own. Because are you not embarrassed? Where's the reciprocity? You can't even vote right, and that's the easiest fucking thing that you can do.
Hey, Latinos, come here for a second. Especially if you have my complexion, come here for a second. This is what we're not gonna do. We're not gonna sit here and complain about not being represented in a story that we don't exist in. I'm sorry, but we were not there. Let's do a mini history lesson. Now this over here, you can see where those red lines all are is like former Mexico. Notice how Mississippi is over there. There is the dominant immigrants in different places, and Mississippi, no Mexico. Let's fast forward to the time of this movie, 1930s. No Mexico. But we could have been there. We could have been there in like small, like, but why would we be thrown in there if we weren't there dominantly? Like, these are our dominant places. And yeah, different sad history was going on. We were getting booted at the time. But what about Chinese settlers? Why were there Asian people in this movie? Because of historical context. It's almost like this director, Ryan Coogler, a black man, made a movie about black struggle in the 1930s, sharecroppers. We weren't there. You know how inspiring it was to watch this movie do so well, for Ryan Coogler to get the deal that he got, to be doing so well, like at the box office. I bought tickets for IMAX to see this. I never go see IMAX. Like, no, I'm not going to expect it from him because it's not asked of us when we make movies. And I had forgotten that I had already blocked this man before. What is his name? Matthew Torres, who has, first of all, forgotten about black Latinos. I believe he was the one that talked about Miles Morales not being Latino because he was black, and coming for indigenous communities as well. And you know what? It took me one Google search, because his main thing is that Ryan Coogler stole from Dusk Till Dawn and didn't credit any influence for it. And it took me one Google search to see that he called Robert Rodriguez one of his big heroes. And he talks about Dusk Till Dawn. So get the fuck out of my face. Maybe before we come for a black director who has worked his ass off, who is incredibly talented, and has gotten to a point where he can use Hollywood money to make stories about his people for his people, which is incredible, maybe we need to start looking inward at our own communities and how representation is a little fucked there, you know? Maybe we should look at what he has done and be inspired that it is something that is achievable. Call me crazy, but should we not be excited, maybe congratulating and being so happy for Ryan Coogler and what he has accomplished? Should we not be going out to support these movies and Asian movies and Native American movies and Palestinian movies and more Latino movies, and making sure that everyone is supported so that we can see ourselves on more screens instead of fighting? Do not understand. Trying to tear another group down instead of being inspired by that group and wanting the same for ourselves, wanting more artists who tell our stories for us.
This weekend, I finally watched the Sinners movie, and I'm upset that there weren't any Latinos in the movie. Let's talk about it. Imagine if I was actually upset by something that fucking dumb. I saw a couple Latino content creators were mad about Latino representation in Sinners, so I said, oh, like, where's the movie based? Like, Texas? The Mississippi Delta. I'm not saying Latinos didn't exist in the Mississippi Delta, but like, can we be fucking serious? But anyways, that stupid ass discourse aside, I watched the movie, and y'all know I take notes on literally fucking everything. So let's go through it, because that movie, wow. You know, people were saying, oh, they should have had Latino actors because they had a tamales restaurant. I don't think those were Latino tamales. I think they were like, they originate from probably Mexico or Guatemala, but like, let's be serious. It was like Mississippian, like tamales. They have their own kind. Everyone's sexy. Everyone's sexy. Me and my friends were debating this for like 2 hours, but in my opinion, the most attractive man was obviously Michael B. Jordan, but that's kind of cheating, was, I forgot the man, the husband to the wife, right? I think the Chinese couple. And then for the women, it was the woman who did Hoodoo. I was like, that one scene with her and Michael B. Jordan, I was like, whoa. I was like, I'm watching this with my friend. Oh my God. I was part of the Native American Student Union at my university, and we had members that were Choctaw. So when they like mentioned Choctaw like folks in the movie, I was like, whoa. I know Choctaw people. And I was like, wow. That scene when he was playing the music and all the different genres started combining with all the different dances, give that fucking movie an Oscar right now. Do you understand me? And don't piss me off, because y'all know they love to snub horror movies at the fucking, I don't know if this counts as horror. Does this count as horror? You know how they like to play with horror movies. Listen, that scene when she was drooling and she was like, do you want some? And he was like, yeah. I'm not going to speak my thoughts on that scene because I'm a Christian woman now. I can't. Listen, I know he's kind of like the villain of the story, but when they were all dancing and Remick was singing and dancing, I was like, okay. I like this. The song was good. And the ending was fucking amazing. Annie, I love you. You'll always be famous. You were the highlight of the movie for me. And the movie was really fucking good. And I don't care that there were no Latinos in the movie, because why the fuck would they be there?
Why is there no Mexican representation in the movie Sinners if there's a lot of Mexicans working in the Mississippi Delta during that time? Yes, you're right. There was a lot of Mexicans working in the Mississippi Delta in 1925 to 1930. The movie Sinners takes place in 1932. Do you know why Mexicans stopped working in the Mississippi Delta in 1930? And why it makes no sense to add them in the movie Sinners during that time because there was no more Mexicans in 1932? Do you know why? Because of the Mexican Repatriation Act. What is the Mexican Repatriation Act? It's when every Mexican, whether you were born here or you came here illegally, was deported back to Mexico. If you're Mexican and you watch the movie Mi Familia, you know where J-Lo comes out before she became Selena, you see the character that J-Lo's playing gets put on a train and sent back to Mexico. I was during that time. So in 1932, there was no more Mexicans in the Mississippi Delta working on the cottons because they all got deported to Mexico, especially in those areas. Let me make another video with a quick breakdown of what that act was and how it affected a lot of us Latinos, and how because of that there's a lot of Latinos that don't speak Spanish and it still affects us.
A lot of my ethnic brethren have said, why are there no Latinos in Sinners? Now, before you ask questions like this, please look at historical context. But even without that being said, it's a black director with a black vision. I don't believe the onus is on him to answer to combat the quota system in Hollywood. And any chance he can do that, that's great. Especially if you're doing a film about, let's say, LA and you avoid Mexicans. But we're talking about 1932, Clarksdale, Mississippi. There was no migration of, forget English, there was no English-speaking Latinos yet. And if there were few individuals, but there's no evidence of any community. And if there was anyone, it would probably be Spanish speaking, which I don't know how that would look in this film. So yes, and they weren't migrated to this region yet. This was early 1930s. Migration from Mexico was really more mid 20th century later on. So, but there had been a great deal of Asian immigration and Irish immigration, which is represented in the film. Now, that being said, I don't see how even that matters, because, not that it doesn't matter, because it's okay to ask for inclusion in films when it's so obvious there is no inclusion. But I think in 2025, there needs to be a leveling up of what we want. What I think is brilliant about a movie like Sinners is not just the fact that it's a great film, but it's a black director. I think Latinos need to be asking more the question, do we want to just be placed in other people's films, or should we be making our own films and putting ourselves in them? And if we make, because I mean, if you look at the history of Latino filmmakers, the four great filmmakers that won Oscars, how many black actors did any of them use in their films? They're more than willing to use white actors, Brad Pitt and such like that, right? And why don't we pressure them to use black actors? Now, again, with the same token, I know this stuff is important. I'm not one of these people that are just flippant about the concept of inclusion. Oh no, it's just a movie, be creative. No, it is important. Inclusion is important because Hollywood is very segregated. It's very curated for a certain race. It's obvious. And the way they've gotten by is tokenism for the big movies. But there's no one behind the camera, and there's really no one in the corporate system and the higher ups that are representative of our culture. And that's what you really should be asking the question. Instead of criticizing black directors, you need to be criticizing your own directors, the ones that are famous. Why are they all using white actors? And that is, I mean, not to say all of them. I'm not saying, look, I'm not painting with a white brush. Many Spaniard directors use white actors from Spain. Many Mexican directors have utilized Mexican actors. I'm not saying that. But with the shoes on the other foot, should black people be asking why they're not employing more black actors? Because when you start to delve into that, it starts to get a little murky about what black actors they've utilized in their films. I can't even think of one. Now, that being said, I just think that we're asking all the wrong questions. It's a great film, and we have to think about including ourselves. Instead of asking other directors to include us, we need to be making our own films and support our own films. And yes, they have to be good. I'm not saying you just gotta support any film that's just because of a Latino filmmaker. No. I know there's members of the black community that come for you when you don't like their films. I didn't like Black Panther. You know how many times I was called a racist because I didn't like Black Panther? I hated that film. I didn't like it at all. I mean, I know that it means a lot to certain people, Wakanda and the whole thing, the symbolism. I didn't like the film. But to be fair, I don't like most Marvel films. So, I'm a horror fan. So I like Blade. I like the darker films like Deadpool. But yes, The Sinners, loved it. I thought this was an amazing film. I think vampire films are back. I think what you should be thinking about Latinos, which by the way, if you didn't see yourself represented, I'm not going to say much more than this because I don't want to give anything away, but if you look at indigenous people and don't see yourself in them, you've lost the plot. You don't know your own blood. That being said, I think we have to start thinking about our own productions, telling our own stories. And black people would love to see those stories. I think we all love an authentic story is what it is. If you had the same story like Sinners, and you set it up in a little Mexican town, it will be fire. Especially that Mexican culture is so rich with occult symbols and culture, just like black culture in the South. Because black culture in the South and Haiti, they have a lot of those old African occult, I want to say beliefs, but customs and stories, just like we do. And it's all great for content for something in the horror genre, you know. But they've kind of fumbled the bag in a few things. I really feel like La Llorona in Mexico could have been a great film. I don't know if that had a Latino director or not, but I feel like that story needs to be told by a Latino filmmaker. And it would be an interesting delve into Mexican culture of the occult, you know. There's this rock band, I don't know if you guys remember, it's called Mars Volta. It has a music video that kind of captures the dark element of the Mexican occult, which I think is cool, you know. And there's a lot of things when they're rich in culture, their fairy tales and the fables are so mystical and interesting, you know. But anyways, I went on a tangent. Great movie, go see it.
I love the movie Sinners, but
Simple solution. Stop including yourself in what we got going on. Find a Latino director. Make a Latino movie. He included enough of the others. To me, too much. How can a movie about slavery and vampires be anything similar to a fucking Latinx movie? Stop expecting black people to include you. Make your own movies. Why did you even go to see it? White Lotus is available. The Asian they let in, the bitch got them killed. The white Haley Steinfeld, they shouldn't have let her in. What would the Latinos in the movie have done? Call Michael B. Jordan a nick. They would have walked up to that door and said, "What's up, my nick?" And then Michael B. Jordan would have slammed that door. That's the end of the movie.
because I pointed out that it has similar plot points to From Dusk Till Dawn, I'm somehow a racist.
So I'm just going to jump in here. I'm in my complaining bathroom. Yeah, people have the right to be upset by what you said, because when people like us, I know I don't present as such, but when people like us, when other Latino people, when other Hispanic people jump into the fray, like you did with Sinners, and you say, well, we did it first, da 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 da. You are taking away from their victory. You are taking away from the fact that this is a unique perspective on a vampire movie. You literally saw a wooden shack and you said, you saw a wooden shack with vampires and people fighting to survive, and you said, oh, this is like From Dusk Till Dawn. Despite the fact that From Dusk Till Dawn could not even fucking garner the same amount of not only just world building and storytelling that Sinners does, but you're also sort of ignoring the fact that this movie in its core essence has a lot to do with how people, especially people of color, have been treated in America. This is not just some popcorn bucket eating vampire killing flick. This is a nuanced and emotional take that includes vampires. So by you jumping in here and saying, well, why weren't we included? Why weren't Latinos included when we were the first people to do this? Da 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 da. You are taking that away from other people, and you're being a fucking dick about it. So instead of just being celebratory and saying congratulations, and even in your fuck-ass apology that you're giving right here, you are choosing instead to be an asshole about it. And I don't know if this is about like rage baiting. I don't know you personally. You could be putting on a bit for this little fuck-ass camera that you got going on. But what I am going to tell you is you're a fucking disgrace to the community that you come from. Your like actions and just the way you've talked about that movie and the fact that you made that video either rage baiting or because you genuinely believed it is fucking disgusting. And the fact that you can't even utter a simple I'm sorry and actually mean it instead of being a dick about it makes you fucking awful. So honestly, save it. I think it's best for you to just drop this as a topic and literally just move the fuck on. But don't sit here and act like people unnecessarily crucified you or came at you incorrectly or like you were just the victim of a mob woke, whatever the fuck that means, mentality. You're a grown-ass fucking man and you have a platform and you do this shit to get attention. So don't start acting like all of a sudden, oh, this isn't the attention I want. This isn't the attention I want. Fuck you, bro. This movie was not about you. Unfortunately, this movie wasn't for you. It was for people that are different than us. It was for people that haven't had the same treatment. We got lucky with the fact that we got the representation we did in From Dusk Till Dawn. And even if you fucking go back and watch that movie, there were a lot of stereotypes that were like not good for us. So why you were hellbent on sort of saying that in your whole review just takes away from the rest of what you had to say. Honestly, fuck you, dog.
That one guy making those ridiculous comments, ridiculous videos, does not represent the Latino community. I wanted to make a video about this just because I loved Sinners with all my heart. And I know, like, bringing attention to this guy, whatever, but I'm not going to say his name. Just, you guys can look it up. You guys know who it is. But yeah, it did make me upset that some guy, you know, with a large following and, you know, a large Latino following is saying all this stuff like that. Sinners needed to represent Latinos for whatever reason. Like, why? I think there is a time and a place to demand representation in certain projects. This isn't the one. This film is beautiful. It's a celebration of Black culture, of African American culture. It's beautiful. I loved everything about it. Might be one of my all-time favorites, and there is absolutely no need for any Latino representation. It wouldn't have made the story any better. It wouldn't have added anything to the story. This film was perfect as it is, in my opinion. But yeah, like, it's ridiculous to demand Latino representation in this, and it's ridiculous, like, pathetic just to do it. No, Latinos don't need to be in everything. And I'm saying that as a Mexican American. It's not necessary. You know me, I specifically, you know, I talk about sports on this page mostly. I do have a movie page, but I wanted to make this on my main account. You know, growing up, I always had that representation because I love sports, and, you know, there's a lot of Latinos in sports. And also, I consume media from my country, from Mexico, as well. Not everything is Hollywood-centered. Not everything needs to be, you know, Hollywood, you know, what you consume. So, I don't know, just asking for that representation is weird for this film, very much so. On top of that, saying that this film owes everything to From Dusk Till Dawn is ludicrous. I believe Coogler actually mentioned From Dusk Till Dawn, if I'm not mistaken. But then this guy also claims that this film, From Dusk Till Dawn, is a Latino vampire movie. Yeah, with Tarantino and George Clooney, right, as the protagonist, as the guys you're cheering for, and all the Latinos in the movie being the villains. Yeah, great Latino vampire movie. You can't compare, like, really the layers that this movie brings to that other film. You can't. He also said in a video that this is specifically for black folk, which it totally is, because, of the culture, everything. It will really speak to the African American community, to the black community for sure. But I think that's also downplaying the magnitude, the impact that this movie can have, saying that it's for black folk only. Because he did say that in one of his videos. Because anybody can connect with this on a human level, human experience, because it asks a lot of important questions. It tackles a lot of important themes, like afterlife, like spirituality, and just culture in general. Yes, this tackles, this goes in depth into African American culture. I said it's a celebration of the black culture, but it makes you think about your own roots. It makes you think about your own culture, for sure. So I didn't like that comment from him as well, because it is for the black community, but I think that's really downplaying the magnitude, the impact that this film can have by kind of making a dismissive comment like that. Love Sinners, loved it with all my heart. Like I said, it might end up being like one of my favorite movies of all time. It might be an all-timer. I've already watched it a couple times. Plan to watch it a couple more times, hopefully. And guys, that guy does not represent us. Please don't think that guy represents us at all.
I know all of us, we have seen telenovelas, and I know black Americans, you are so familiar with this, what I'm trying to say. When you watch telenovelas, when you watch Telemundos, when you watch Mexican movies, it's rare to see black people on their movies, unless they're extras. How often do Latino-led film include black people? And I mean black Latinos too, not only black people, but Afro-Latinos too. How often? We have popular shows like Jane the Virgin or On My Block. So maybe one or two Afro-Latinos, they're almost always side characters or acting the crime scenes, or acting, as I said earlier, as the house helps, So which is built, it has built another thing that the anti-Blackness into the Latino films, it is too much. And when is the last time Bad Bunny or J Balvin spoke about anti-Blackness in Latin America? When is the last time Univision had a dark-skinned Afro-Latino anchor? Because even if you watch their televisions, the presenters, the media televisions, or the media personality in Latinos, you may not see an Afro-Latino. It's something that has been going on, and a lot of people have been talking about it. For example, the Afro-Latinos have been talking about the exclusivity of black Latinos in these places. So the truth is, anti-Blackness is global and it's so deep. And in the Latino community too, anti-Blackness, it is too deep. So it's wild to hear complaints about not being included in black movies when many Latinos production intentionally exclude black people or Afro-Latinos. So when we talk about inclusivity, when Latinos come and rant about inclusivity, we have to see in both ways. And both ways is, do you include Afro-Latinos? Do you include black people too? Let's not forget when black folks invite Latinos into the unity, like Black Lives Matters, many Latinos stay silent or worse, or criticize black people, saying that they are too loud, too militant, or too focused on race. When we need your help, when black people needs Latino help, it is rare. It is rare to find that Latinos are 100% supportive on that. So a lot of black Americans right now have reacted and talked about November 5th. And that was a big election. And on that election, let's be real, it wasn't perfect. Let's just be real, it wasn't perfect. There was major issues on the table that were affecting black people, and not black people only. It was affecting even Latinos, even Asian Americans. The minority group in America was affected by what's going on in the election of November 5th. And the immigrants, the working class communities, especially around policy funding, housing rights, and education and health disparities, those were the issues that were on the table. Black Americans showed up, like always. Black Americans or black people, we have been the moral backbone of progressive politics in this country for decades. Which country? The USA. But did Latinos show up for black people? They didn't. They didn't show up in the ballot. So, in fact, the polls show that a significant percentage of Latinos, they didn't show up or they voted the other party. Why? And black people needed you so badly. And these things that black people needed you to, it was not affecting black people only. It was affecting even your group. It was affecting the immigrants. And some Latinos are immigrants. Now, they fact around, they are finding out. And they are finding out the hard way. You know? So, here's the question. If you are not showing up for us, if you are not showing us for black people in the voting booth, if you are not showing up for black people in the protest, if you are not including black people in your media, then why are you so mad when we as black people center ourselves in our own stories? Why are you so mad when we don't include you in these movies? Why are you so mad when black filmmakers do not include you in this? Because you never did that at the first point. Latinos, you never did that at the first point. And this isn't about division. We are not dividing ourselves. Yeah, we need to come together. And I've been speaking about togetherness of all minority group. Latinos and black Americans, we need to find a way to come together. But sometimes calling out the double standards is necessary. Some Latinos communities want the proximity to black culture, like the music. They want to engage themselves in the music, you know, the style, the lingo, but they don't want to take responsibility when the right times or the real solidarity comes. They don't want to take part in it. They just want to dance to the hip hop. You know, the quote of Kendrick Lamar, but when it is time to stand with the black community, they vanish. And this time to stand is not about the issues concerning black communities alone. It's the issues that is touching everyone, Latinos and everyone. See what's happening right now. There's some white Americans, they have fucked around and they're finding out the hard way. MAGA supporters, they're crying. Latinos are crying. Some Arab Americans are crying. You know? And again, when we say it's not all Latinos, there are plenty of Latinos who stand out, or they stand up, they speak out, and they ride with black folks, you know? And let's be honest. Not all Latinos are anti-Blackness. Some Latinos, they know what is up there, you know, and they support. So today's video is about the loud voice who want to be included in black films without doing the work of inclusivity itself, you know. So if you are calling for inclusion, make sure your own house is clean first. Make sure, Latinos, if you are calling for inclusion, make sure your own house is clean. When I'm saying your own house is clean, if you want solidarity, show up for it. If you want inclusivity, show up for it. If you want to be part of the black-led art, support black-led election. That is the way to go. Let's be realistic. Both of us, we need to be on the front line. But we cannot be on the front line on our own. We need support of each other. So let's stop the performative allyship. Black people are, are not the diversity department of the world. Yeah, black people ain't. We as black people have carried enough on our backs. Let's talk the real one. We as black people have carried enough on our back. Black Americans have carried enough on their back. They don't need lectures from people who don't work with them. Black people, We don't need lectures from people who don't work with us. We need to work with the people who work with us. We need to vote with the people who vote with us. We need to include the people who include us. We need to fight for the people who fight for us. We are tired. And this is another generation. A generation that always see what's happening. They pay their due where it's supposed to be. You know? So those Latinos who are ranting online saying that they were not included, I think it is time to know that you need to check on your side too, so that all of us can be on the correct line. Okay? Tell me what you think in the comment section about that video. And thank you so much for watching. Thank you for the super thanks you're sending to me. Thank you for supporting me. And I appreciate each and everything and everyone who is here, either negative or positive. I really, really appreciate. Until next episode, peace out.